Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk. Again, John, Dave, and myself going to look back over Leinster's draw with Glasgow last weekend, and of course look forward to the huge game in the Aviva Stadium against Bath the weekend. So boys, it's kind of the proverbial game of two halves. Brian.
I was trying to remember what the name was. Brian, yeah, Brian Moore, was it?
And you can take kind of talking about the game against Bath. I mean, if we play like we played in the first half in that match, we haven't got a chance.
No,
that's true.
Play like we played in the second half, I don't think Bath have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally, it comes down to that.
Night and day.
Yeah.
The first half, we were just literally
Rubbish.
aimless looking. Like we were
Shite.
falling off tackles, looking uncommitted, like going into kind of leaning on people rather than hitting them. And, you know, every time they got the ball, they made yards straight through our defence. If you saw that match on fast forward in the first half, you'd see them penetrating the defence, running all over. And when we came back at them, stopped dead. Every time they were stopping us at the gain line. So it was like we just didn't have the oomph to get over the gain line. It's like we didn't really care. And there was a few times in the match when I noticed there's a scrum down in front of us at one stage, and the lads were all standing there at the scrum, waiting to pack down, and they were just looking into space aimlessly. There was none of them, like you'd imagine Geno, of all people, would be going, right lads, come on, move. Nothing. They were all looking in different directions. It looked like they were just.
Well, apparently Geno had words at half time.
Somebody obviously did.
And that helped turn things around. And I tell you one thing, I could see him going into the dressing room. He was water boy on the night. Heading into the dressing room at half time, and he had a face like thunder on him, Jamie Heasley. But I've never seen him look like that before, you know. So obviously the senior guys did or said something anyway. And there's another thing as well. I mean, it's unfortunate Redden got injured. But Boss made a big difference.
The Stormer, yeah.
And I think that ceteris paribus, for whatever reason, for this team, Boss is the better scrum half. You can make the argument that Owen Redden's a better player, with better pace, puts better pace to the ball, better passer, blah blah. But for this team, the way this team plays, whether it's right or wrong, I think Boss is the better scrum half for this team.
I think they're a bit like Madigan and Goppert. I just don't think. I don't need a
at this stage. I don't think either of them.
I don't think are complementing each other. Like a few weeks ago, Redden came on and the speed of the game was
changed,
dramatically. Like
that was not Ireland.
Maybe it was,
I think that was
but
Ireland.
still,
Wales,
fair enough. But like even then, he came on and he played fantastic, and the performance of the team lifted with his presence.
It depends on the type of game you're playing. If you're playing that high tempo game where you need someone getting to rucks really quickly and moving the ball really quickly, you need Owen Redden. If you're
playing a power game with a lot of you're trying to probe and find holes, and if they're not there, punch them. Then Boss is your guy. I mean, we saw. I mean, he made a big difference on Friday. But the thing about them is, whilst I have a sense that Boss is the better scrum half for this team, the thing about it is that both of them have, played themselves both in and out of the team on occasion over the last 2 years. And indeed, it was even under Schmidt, it was very hard to tell who was the better guy because, maybe for other reasons, because they were pushing one another on. So there were tactical change, or there were personnel changes made at half time and around that period that made a big difference. I mean, Luke Fitzgerald came on, looked like a different class to pretty much everything else that was on the pitch. Sean Cronin came on, made a big difference. Keane Healy came on, made a big difference. And Isaac Boss obviously with his 2 tries.
Well, Boss came on I think just a little before half time. Healy and Cronin came out just after half time, and I think that's what did the damage. The 3 of those guys. Boss obviously got the charge down try early enough, and that you could literally see the 10. I watched it back afterwards. You could see it on the telly as well. The game just changed. The minute Boss scored that charge down try, the game changed utterly. We were, instead of falling off tackles, we were chopping them down. Instead of aimlessly looking around when we had the ball, we were making inroads into them. It was just like our intensity just went up.
I think the boss charge down happening as it did directly from the kickoff was almost a living flag of what the increased intensity was going to be in the second half. What did the intensity increase because of what Boss did, or did what Boss did, was that a sign of an increased intensity that we were going to see?
Yeah, hard to say. Yeah. The other thing is though, Hogg went off. Yeah. Hogg was causing. We were kicking the ball to him, and he's one of the best broken field runners in the world. Certainly in the Northern Hemisphere, and we were kicking the ball to him. The guy who came on to replace him was the guy that Boss charged down. Bryce, or I can't remember his name, but he's the replacement 15. And you know, he's not at Hog's level. Not too many Glasgow players are, to be honest, or in fact, players in general are. So you know, that made a massive. That was the other side of the coin, where we got our players coming on. They had a couple going off. I think one of their props went off as well, and you know. There was one period where they had back rowers and hookers and people swapping, and you know,
there was a couple of times when their props went down with injury and it came very close to being uncontested scrums. Like unfortunately they were able to carry on, but you know it was the situation that Bath had. Obviously their change didn't work for them and ours worked for us.
Glasgow.
What did I say? Bath. Sorry, Glasgow. Bath in the mind. But their changes didn't work for them. Ours worked for us.
Yeah.
And the yellow card, of course, wouldn't have helped.
No, but I mean that guy. I mean,
it was a soft yellow as well, wasn't it?
But he does stupid things like that. He does stupid things like that.
He's gone, isn't he?
He's gone to Bath.
Yeah. Funny enough. I don't know. I can't see Mike Ford putting up with too much of his shenanigans. Mike Ford's a fairly, straight up and down rugby league, ex-rugby league guy. How much of that kind of stuff he'll put up with, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Townsend would take a bit of it because Townsend always had a bit of a whiff of the torture genius about him. So maybe he'd recognise that in Matawali, but I can't see Ford putting up with it. I mean, they just can't.
They've signed Mike Blair, I heard.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, that's what they're going to replace him. Yeah.
And they've signed a decent winger as well from the Southern Hemisphere. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but they've is Van der Merwe moving on as well. A few of those players moving on. A few of the Glasgow players moving on at the end of the season. So
and there's their forward coach as well. He's been replaced by Dan McFarland.
Mm-hmm.
But one guy you mentioned, I think, was Luke Fitzgerald. Like, I just thought he just looked so hungry for the ball when he set up. We look at all the tries in a second, but for Boss's second try, he was just came like a steam train.
I think he carried on what we saw from the game against Wales.
But even prior to the Six Nations, like he was Leinster's form player.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was really coming back in and grabbing his opportunity.
Where is he going to play at the weekend? Will he be at 13? Will he be at 11?
I mean, well, we'll come to the game against the weekend, but there's huge questions there.
Well, one former Ireland winger, I suppose, got the first try, McFadden.
Yeah.
Former is a bit harsh. Hopefully he'll get back there.
Well, hopefully he will,
He took a knock in the game and ended up having to come off substitute and missed the OLSC thing affair afterwards. But I'm sure that was his biggest disappointment.
Now, this is the thing that's been quite annoying, and Ireland were like this against Wales, like where they just battering away, and they never. Like if you notice for the last Glasgow try,
great hands there from
Jennings, made
good technique there from Goppers as well.
Yeah. We did a lot of that in the first half, though, battering away and getting nowhere. That Jennings completely made that.
Those hands.
It was lightning hands for a forward, especially, but even for a back, it was lightning hands. We'll see it again now. That was without that. That try wouldn't have happened, and in fact there was another one.
Goppert did very well there. He played the ball in behind.
Yeah, he took the guy in and out. Yeah,
there was another one with Goppert and Kirshner which didn't go to a try, and if Goppert had got it out as fast as Jennings did there, Kirshner would have scored. It was also in the first half, I think. But he did well there. That's another thing with Matawala. He's always trying for the. That wasn't a try, it was a knock on.
Yeah, it's a bit kind
He's always at that, isn't he? I suppose it's a scrum half thing. All scrum halves do it.
I think it was funny that the player, it was just a kind of an anecdote in the game. All the Leinster players got a big cheer when they were named. Nigel Owens, bizarrely, got a big cheer when he was named. Yeah. And Stuart Hogg got a big cheer as well.
Well, why don't we have a quick look at Bossy's charge down after he came on?
Well, this is just all about desire, and charge down. That's what it is. But it showed the increased tempo. Application that the players are putting in. I mean, it was a slow pass, and your man dithered over it, but still.
Probably all removing the coach's boot from our collective arses.
Yeah. It woke the crowd up as well. The crowd started to come more into the game in the second half for obvious reasons.
Yeah, he wanted it. In fairness to him, I mean, there's one thing about Isaac Boss you could never criticise is his application.
Yeah, but like when you're 17 points down at half time, for them to come back immediately after the kick-off.
It really makes it all possible, doesn't it? You know, when you get a score that early in the second half.
It makes you believe it's possible, even if it might not be, but it makes you believe it.
She was 20 points, wasn't it?
Impossible is nothing.
Yeah, it was 20-point deficit.
we're going to have to get used to impossibility in the rest of this season.
Well, anyway, Jordy Murphy got his try as well.
Another beaut. Straight through. Lovely line he ran, and of course had to do the hard work. But all of a sudden, look whose tackles are not. Who missed that? Was that fullback again? The replacement fullback? I think it might have been.
In fairness, it was the first time in the match that I realised we'd had a back row. Because the three of them did fuck all during the game. We see, although ironically enough, Geno had the hands for the thing. Jordy Murphy makes the break here, but I mean, really, they weren't great.
It was a lovely line.
Poor defending.
It was dreadful, that last tackle, but he still had to do it.
You got a good solid hand on the prop.
He got the hand on the other guy, but that one there was just a dreadful tackle. Good man, Jordy. With a few more of them now at the weekend.
Is there a replacement fullback, not your man Murchie?
No.
The Scottish international.
It was a guy called...
The Scottish internationalist.
I think it was a guy called Bryce or something like that. A guy I hadn't heard of anyway. A guy I didn't know.
Because when he was...
Peter Murchie usually is.
Yeah, when Hogg was on his sulk last year,
yeah,
it was Murchie that stepped in.
This is the one with Luke, isn't it? Yeah.
I'd say now
he just took a lovely inside line, but everybody could see he was going to do that. I mean, every one of those Glasgow players knew he was going to come inside that way, but
they were drifting. Yeah. They were drifting right.
Boss just saw that gap.
I think what also happened was that
couldn't be stopped.
In the first half, Madigan had thrown out a couple of real fucking brain donor passes. Right, big, long, loopy, glory hunting passes, and you could see him there in the second as he was running through there. He was kind of thinking, "Oh," and then saying, "No, if I do this, I'll be shot. No, if I do this, I'll be shot. No, if I do this, I'll be shot. No, I'll be shot. I better wait."
I think they were all dummies. I think he wanted to score himself.
Yeah. Well, you see, that was symbolic of the difference, if you like, in the first and second. In the first half, all our backs, not just Madigan, every single one of them from. All our players. If there was a stupid option to take, not just a wrong option, but a stupid option, Madigan or the player took it. In the second half, they didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's down to desire. It's down to
It's down to players doing what they're supposed to be doing.
But it was disappointing that we let them in for the final try.
Oh, I was sickened. Like somebody said to me afterwards, "Were you not thrilled that we were losing that game by 20 points? You're not thrilled to get the draw?" I wasn't. At all. I was just gutted when they got back for that last try. I thought 5 points would have really just lit up the rest of the campaign for us.
You've done all that hard work to come back from
scored
20-point deficit and to be leading by 7.
The thing is, the reasons why you're 20 points down
points
in the first half don't just evaporate over half time.
Of course not.
And it has to be remembered.
Glasgow are
excellent, the best team in the league at the moment. I mean, there's a reason why they're up at the top of the league.
Yeah.
And they've a great bit of depth and they've a great bit of spirit.
Yeah.
That's what does it for them. That never say die.
I've just felt that we squandered 2 points rather than gain 3 points.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think I would certainly say that it's a combination of about 2 points lost. But there's also points gained there as well.
Yeah, but all of our rivals got 5.
Yeah. I think at this stage of the season, because we need other teams to do favours for us, conversely, there's no point looking at what other teams are doing. All we know is that we have
to win everything.
All we can do is what we can do ourselves. I mean,
well, all this year, right? We haven't had Healy and O'Brien for Leinster for the whole year, right? We're near the end of the season. We haven't had them playing together for Leinster. I don't think once.
No.
They've had a little bit of both of them at various times. They've just come together and just starting to cook now for Ireland. Like O'Brien had a man of the match performance against Scotland, and Healy is coming back into great form. Those two guys are the two guys we've missed, and we've been saying all along, if get those two guys back, get a decent uninjured run, and the sky is the limit. Now, unfortunately, before we've got them back, we've left ourselves in an impossible situation. Like in the league especially, we're in impossible territory. Thankfully, we've got guys coming back who don't really know the meaning of the word impossible. So, if there's any possibility of it happening, these are the guys to do it. But you know, it's a mountain to climb still, and that's just the league. If we can get past Bath this weekend, and that's an if, we're going to have an even bigger mountain to climb. And you know, these two, both of our campaigns are going to affect each other also. You know, because we've got,
and so condensed in
match on, match
April
off,
and May.
match on. Yeah, you've got league match, cup match, league match, cup match, week after week, and the more cup matches you win, the more.
All we can really do at this point in time is try and beat Bath.
Yeah,
you know, because
of course
so much of it is, like you say, even if we do, you know, touch wood, beat Bath, odds are we'll have, you know, the back-to-back European champions to face in the south of France, which doesn't make it any easier. And
then Ulster the week after.
That. But all you can do is just go, you know, okay, right, our goal for this season now is to beat Bath, and then we revisit that after the Bath game.
I think that's the way they do it anyway.
Yeah, it has to be. It's the only way that they're going to survive, because if they start getting what ifs and I hope others and will theys, if they start letting that impinge on their psyche,
they're gone.
They're boned. I mean, they needn't bother.
Yeah.
They just have to focus entirely on what they can control and ignore everything else.
If you look at our league run in, we've got Dragons away, Ulster away, Treviso at home, and Edinburgh at home. Edinburgh away.
Yeah.
Like, all of those games are very winnable.
I don't know about very, but they're winnable.
Well, come on, we should beat Dragons away. I know they beat us at home, but
they are winnable. I understand what you're saying.
Ulster away, we've gone up to Ulster probably and won up there probably 4 of the last 5 times, maybe more.
Well, a lot. I'd say that Ulster game will be very dependent on what's happened in other matches.
Yeah,
I would say that if we win a semi-final in the Champions Cup, nobody will give a rat's arse about the 12.
Of course they won't.
Well, unless they need to qualify. You know,
you and I might bring our boots up to Ravenhill. You know, Kingspan. We could get a game.
Well. Yeah.
Well, I think we're pretty much guaranteed at least 6th, right?
We won't be in a semi-final until after the.
I thought the Ulster game was before the semi-final.
No, sorry, you're right,
yeah.
Yeah, we've Dragons quarter-final, Dragons semi-final, Ulster. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we do win the semi-final, we won't care. We won't give a rat's ass.
You can bring your boots.
Job done.
Put them on the boot.
I'll bring my boots. I'll bring my boots. Can I replace Jamie? Please. No, I don't think I could run 100 yards. Never mind. Replace Jamie.
100 yards. I could barely run from here to the door. But no. Again, you see, that's it. I mean, it all has to be taken one game at a time, because otherwise you just go crazy thinking about it. So for Leinster, all we can do is you know, learn what we can learn from the Glasgow game, put it away, and then look forward to Bath.
Yeah,
we've more or less just got cup finals from now on in.
Every game's that's it. Yeah. Good team at cup finals, us.
Yeah.
Except
well,
unless we're playing the Ospreys.
The only upside is that we've got all of our players, and we've got them until the end of the season, and the season is only, you know, possibly only 5 games long. Yeah, definitely no more than 9.
Well, I suppose we've looked at the positive side of it, but the converse of that, I suppose, is if we do lose against Bath at the weekend, probably for the first time in a long time, our season is pretty much done at the start of April.
Well, I would say that if we lose to Bath this weekend, we're going to be fit to be tied against Dragons and Ulster, and we're going to just get medieval on people, and you know,
well, see, the thing
we
is,
might fluke our way into it.
It depends on the way you react.
After a while, you know, if you, the other side of that is, and it's taking a point of view that I don't necessarily agree with, but you know, it's a point of view that has to be expressed. If we're in a situation where we've lost to this team, we've lost to that team, we lose the other team, we're not going to be in a position to get medieval on their asses, because, you know, maybe we're not good enough.
Yeah. The quality of the Bath side, like, you know, there's some very, very exceptional players in their team.
They do.
Like their backs look.
Their backs are incredible, but they're incredible going forward. If you know what to do to them, you can't legislate. Some of those guys are so talented that if they get the ball in space, you're boned. And Ford has a great rugby brain for such a young guy, and he can put them in space. But going backwards, you know, I think I said it after the England game. You know, Brad Barrett and all of those guys may not be the most creative players in the world, but by Jays, you're not getting through them. And Farrell, you're not getting through them. You know, if you noticed when we played England with the two of them playing, we never made headway. We were chopped down. Whereas against England, with all the bad players, once you got through them, you know, they don't have the physicality of those guys.
I mean,
in attack, they are so good and so creative. But if you don't let them play that, if your back row is up there and knocking the shite out of them every time, you don't let them get the ball in hand, and we play a power game against them, which, you know, let's face it, that's our game.
That's what I was going to say. With the exception of Bannahan, it's a small team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ford is small.
And they're missing 4 props.
Ford is small. Eastman is small. Watson and Joseph aren't exactly huge guys either. And who's playing fullback for them these days?
Excellent question. I don't get
to
see much.
I think Aguja is there as well. I mean, they don't have a huge. Well, I'm not sure if he is or not, but they don't have a big team. I mean,
unless they bring on Burgess, he's not small.
Yeah, but
he's not small, but he's also not very good. You know.
Yeah, he's been less successful. Well, looked less successful so far. The Burgess experiment has been less successful than the Teo experiment.
It's probably because there's more pressure on it, though.
Probably because there's more pressure on, and also because Ben Teo has played rugby union to a certain extent. Maybe now a long time ago. But at least he's familiar with the concept, whereas Burgess hasn't. So, you know, the Battle of the Bunnies could go our way. In terms of...
Will our bunny be playing? Will theirs?
Well, you see, that's the question. I don't think that they're going to start Burgess. I just don't think that they're going to do it. I have no idea what our back line... Outside, from 8 to 14, I have no idea what our team is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we don't know whether Redden's concussed.
We don't know if Redden's going to be available.
I think
we don't know if he's going to go with
Redden's going to be okay.
Is he going to go with Gopperth or Madigan? Is he going to go with Darcy or Madigan?
Well, I think he's going to go with
Teo or Fitz. Is he going to go with Fitz? Yeah. Dave Carney, Fergus McFadden, Zane Kirshner.
I would go with Fitz and I'd go with Madigan, but you know, I can see if you're putting Madigan at out half, you got to put Darcy at 12, and either Luke or Teo at 13. If you're going with Gopperth at 10, you can put Madigan or Darcy at 12, and then you've got your Teo or Fitz. I'd personally go either Madigan, Darcy, Fitz, or Gopperth, Madigan, Fitz, and I'd leave Teo on reserve to come on when guys are tired.
I'd go Madigan. I'd go Madigan, Darcy, Teo, Fitz, Carney.
Well, there you go. You know, that's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Imagine how many other opinions that could be out there. But this is a consequence of the fact that barring Rhys Ruddock, we've got a full deck, and Kevin McLaughlin, we've got a full deck going into this game. So, you know, that's such a rarity.
It sure is.
And we could have, I was looking at it earlier, we could have 2 full benches of pretty good guys, you know. So
weakness for us, as always, and it has been for a year or two now, is the second row. I mean, okay, we say we'll have Toner and one other. The problem is the one other.
Yeah.
McCarthy's an honest player, quite a good niggler of that style. Not sure if he's really got any kind of extra quality than that. Kane Douglas, we just haven't seen anything from. We've seen patches. We've seen.
There's a great player in there.
There's a really good player in there.
Yeah,
you can see that. You can see that.
Just
you see that, say in the first half against Wasps in Coventry, for example. But you know,
then he got sin-binned foolishly.
Yeah, there's a great player in there. It's just, you know, he's surrounded by something else. You've got to get out, and I'm not sure if you could trust him in a game like this, or even if he'd be fit, because he was quite off last week. Well, he was unavailable last week.
Maybe with a view to this game. Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah.
I heard it was an injury. I can't remember.
I heard it was an injury as well. Yeah.
So you know, it's probably going to be Toner and McCarthy. So then is it Douglas or Denton on the bench? Now Denton had a great game.
Yeah.
And he's honest as the day is long. He puts it in. I mean, he must have been.
Is he Heineken Cup
quality?
Are you going to win a Heineken Cup with Denton?
The question is ability versus application.
Of course.
But well, you know, sorry, just to interrupt there. Are you going to win is Denton going to be a star man when you win a Heineken Cup? No. But Heineken Cup triumphs are made up of guys. A lot of guys like him.
They're not, Dave. They're not.
They are.
You've got guys like Stuart Hooper, who's their captain.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy who's, I don't think he's ever been internationally capped.
Damien Brown in 2012.
He's a regular kind of a
sometimes
guy.
You need that kind of. You need. Sometimes
did Damien Brown sit on the bench even in the Heineken Cup?
Damien Brown
started every single match up until Brad Thorne signed.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why they signed. Look who they signed.
But that's what I'm saying.
But that's my point. Look who they signed.
But we wouldn't have won any of those matches with 14 players. You had to play in those games.
Yeah, I agree with you. But look, up to that point, they went into the market. They went and they begged the IRFU to allow them to sign a second row because who is on our bench and what will we not do if we don't.
Well, in fairness, Brown was playing injured. Leo Cullen had Achilles or whatever he had, Achilles tendon.
But the point of the matter is, it's not always the cavalry stars that win the match. Sometimes you need the foot soldiers, the cannon fodder to a certain extent. I mean, our campaigns are littered with them. I mean, we won in 2009. You're going to win a Heineken Cup with Ronnie McCormick. You know, there's always you always need guys like that in the squad. They mightn't be the star man, they mightn't be starters, but they're necessary.
We went out the next season and replaced these guys, and you know, like,
of course,
because they're not good enough. And if you think that Leinster are going to beat Bath with journeymen like Denton,
they're not going to beat them with them, but they've no chance of beating them without them. That's the point I'm making. Yep. You just don't get into a position where you can beat a team like Bath or beat a team like anyone if you don't have that depth of squad.
Would you put Tom Denton on the bench ahead of Kane Douglas if they were both fit? Probably not. But if Kane Douglas isn't fit,
and you've questions about his application,
you're putting Tom Denton in there, and he'll give you an honest shift. And, you know, like Dave says, if it's him or a big space on the bench.
Of course.
But that's the point I'm making. I mean, the point I'm making. No, do those guys win you a Heineken Cup? No, but without them, you lose it.
You don't get near
it. It's about the Heineken Cup is a group effort. I mean, there's from everyone involved kind of thing to win that kind of trophy. In terms of ability, obviously, you go Kane Douglas. Questions are fitness, application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. So. Looking at the other.
Oh, I'd also like the back row is a huge issue for us.
Well, Heaslip, O'Brien and Murphy.
Heaslip, O'Brien and Murphy, yeah. But I mean, in terms of, sorry, I didn't mean to start. I mean, the cover. Who covers?
Jennings, Conan, Ryan.
I would not have Dominic Ryan. He played really badly on last week. Conan was, pretty kind of obliterated. A bit obliterated. Would it be worthwhile going with Jennings and O'Brien?
I would.
Yeah.
I would. You could bring, like they used to do it in the old days, you could bring Jennings on and move O'Brien across the 6 if O'Brien was still going. You could, you could have Jennings and Murphy as two kind of open sides, if you like. You could have, there's a bit of stuff you can do with that. Like if you put Conan on the bench, you can play 6 or 8. That's grand. And 6 is probably where you're going to need a bit of oomph late in the game, maybe.
And he has all the talent, and indeed, in fairness to him, he has all the application.
He's a bit raw.
But he's raw.
He's a bit raw.
The only thing is, I'm not sure, Bath's back row, some of it's good.
There's a guy, Carl Ferns, who's, I think he's a bit like Baker for the Ospreys.
Yeah.
He's big, but, his hands wish they were tits.
Because at least they'd have something to look at.
They're not up to the tit standard, but he's a physical beast, and then if Lowe, of course, is a fabulous world-class player, Francois Lowe. But
there are opportunities rather against that Bath. The Bath pack,
I think it's our opportunity to beat them is up in the pack.
Yeah, it is. The only thing is that the pack in tight play is not functioning well. It's scrummaging well.
I just wonder when
our restarts are poor. Our restarts are poor. Our line-out's a bit. And our maul is non-existent, and that's a real problem for us because that should be an opportunity for us.
Just going back to the back row option, like I'm just wondering the fact that they were so, like I heard an interview with Shane Jennings. He was on the radio over the weekend, and after the game, O'Connor was interviewed, and they kind of said, "Oh, we have Jennings on the show tonight and tomorrow, and chatting to him about," and he basically said, "Any chance of you might change your mind on him?" And he said, "No." Like it was literally so dismissive. So I just wonder, like if they're
who said that? Sorry,
O'Connor was very dismissive of. They said, would you reverse your decision on Jennings coming back and signing for next season? And he was like so kind of dismissive of entering into that thinking.
I think he was so dismissive of just answering the question.
Yeah, but I just kind of got like there didn't seem to be a whole lot of. It wasn't like you could say, "Oh well, our team can't function without Jennings." It was like, yeah, he's just the Pro 12 guy. He's not the Heineken Cup man.
Yeah, well, I'd hate to hear that about a legend of Leinster rugby.
Maybe I just picked it up, but that was just.
He's won a lot more Heineken Cups than Matt O'Connor ever will. I would.
I would suggest that people read too much. There's a lot of stuff been read into a lot of interviews that Matt O'Connor gives, and nobody knows what he means about it. Because every time he says, "Oh, I don't," people get upset about something, and then he just plays the guy the next week anyway. So,
So anyway, Racing play Sarries. So Johnny Sexton, will he be back fit for that game?
I think he's talking like he will be.
He is,
he was on press duty yesterday for them. So,
if that means anything,
interesting story from Racing Paris. The French, being the trade unionists that they are, the union of coaches and trainers in France have sought and got an injunction against the LNR to prevent Ronan O'Gara bringing the kicking tee onto the pitch in matches because he's not a registered member of the union.
Oh my god!
Now, there you go.
Okay, fair enough.
You really should. I'll tell you, lads, Midi Olympic on a Monday morning, it's full of mental stuff like this.
Shades of the Board of Works 1978 or whatever it was, when they wouldn't let anybody change their light bulbs and they had to bring in electricians.
There you go.
You know.
So,
ouch.
Because that's the major issue affecting French rugby at the moment.
Exactly. So, you know, Saracens, as everybody would agree, are a cancer on rugby, and let's hope Racing win. You know, I actually don't hate Sarries that much.
They played Harlequins in Wembley yesterday, and they had the high, or was they say, or
they broke the record again.
Yeah, they broke the record.
Yeah. Well done.
I've got free tickets.
Yeah, broke the record of free tickets to see Lethal Bizzle do a mashup with Right Said Fred.
Is that what happened?
I have no idea.
Who won? I don't even know who won.
I don't care. I have no interest. I mean, I watched a lot of. Funny enough, I watched a lot of top 14 this weekend. It was all cracking.
Okay.
I watched Stade Francais against Clermont-Auvergne, and it was a brilliant game. Absolutely brilliant game.
Well, that brings me on to the other quarterfinal. Clermont against Saints.
That should be a good match, actually.
I think so. Clermont rested a number of key figures for the game against Stade Francais without retracting from the entertainment. And looked to be even the reserves, although they were blown out of it a bit by Stade Francais, looked to be in good form. They looked to be in good shape. So
I think that's actually the game of the weekend for a neutral.
Could quite possibly.
Because Saints
the big question is over George North.
Yes, that's his third
concussion,
or knockout.
Yeah, he's been knocked out 3 times this year. Whether they say it's a concussion, apparently he's seen a neuroscientist or a neurologist, whatever, tomorrow. And that'll tell the tale. But I mean, it's a lot of knocks.
Yeah. That'll affect their preparation for sure, because
a lot of their game is based around him.
Yeah, he's a huge part of their.
But we saw when he played, especially in the Viva, and he played him at centre.
Yeah,
like it looked like he was born to be in that position.
Yeah. Yeah, he's,
they haven't.
He's a freakish athlete.
But he is.
That was his first ever Heineken Cup try that day. It's hard to believe, but it's true.
Yeah. And it was the other fixture that's going to affect us if we beat Bath is Toulon playing Wasps.
Hard to see anybody English winning that one, unless there's a few English players on Toulon.
The question is, I mean, Wasps have an ability to upset opposition teams.
The Armitage brothers.
And have done it for years in Europe and in France, away in France. Wasps have a great record away in France, actually.
But Wasps are a totally different team than the ones that won away in France.
The problem with Toulon is there's very few French players in it. You get upset. Question is how hungry are they? That's the only thing.
We played Wasps in Coventry, and they really weren't a good team that day.
No.
It was just we threw away a huge lead. You know,
and they're signing Jimmy Gopperth for next season to replace
that
Andy Good.
That shows the ambition in that club, really. If they're
Boujalel was less than pleased with Toulon's performance last weekend. He was quite open about how displeased he was, which is unusual for him because normally he blames everyone else. But this time he was blaming his own club and he was blaming his own players and he was blaming himself. So that's a real rocket fired up their backsides. The question is, how do they react?
Hopefully
badly.
Very badly, yeah.
I don't see it happen. Much as I'd love to, because I a few days on the south coast, get some periwinkles.
Well, it could be either both south coasts. It could be Marseille or Brighton or Bournemouth. Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
We shall see.
As much as I'd love to think it would be Wasps, I have a feeling it'll be Toulon, and we'll be going to Marseille.
Well, one of our rivals for the Pro 12, of qualification for the Pro 12, is Ulster. They've got a bit of good news and bad news today. Rumours that, what's his name?
Pietau.
Thank you, Pietau. Charles. has signed from from New Zealand. And also they had bad news about Stuart Oling, who was only back after a dislocated shoulder, was it? He's after doing his cruciate now and out for 9 months.
Yeah, that's a long time in rugby.
There's a lot of those Ulster. I mean, Ulster keep churning out these very good inside backs, and then they get injured really, really quickly. It's a bit of a concern at this stage.
They have a lot of centres like poor Alan Evans-Bents, God love him, and then you've Luke Marshall and his concussions.
Stuart
Olding, and just doesn't seem to be able to
Gilroy,
get back playing.
Another guy regularly on the injury bench. Paddy Jackson was out twice this season with injuries. Your man Trimble, was Trimble's out with an ingrown toenail or
a paper cut?
No, but like he
got infected by hantavirus.
Well, he does have an infection in his toe. It's for his toes.
I mean, if there was a pattern to all these injuries, you'd be thinking, there's something going wrong up there. But they're getting the craziest things. One bit of good news is Chris Henry made his comeback at the weekend.
Excellent news,
which was lovely to see. They're apparently signing this Piatau guy.
For more money than you could shake a big shitty stick at.
Here's the thing: I don't know if they're signing him or not. I have no idea. But there's a couple of things. One, it's a story that's been reported in one newspaper in New Zealand.
Yep.
Right. Everything else is just re-reports. So need a bit more to go.
And it is the 1st of April in New Zealand, or it was when it was.
It wasn't actually. I checked.
Okay. 31st of March.
The other thing is,
but it was probably for that day's paper.
Quite possibly. The other thing is that the money that's been spoken about, which is €1 million or $1 million New Zealand dollars, which is about €700,000 a year.
But Rory's got the Masters coming up, Dave.
Well, I'll tell you, he don't want to win it because I mean, there's no way that they're going to pay him more than the Irish captain, his predecessor as Irish captain, his most likely successor as Irish captain in Sean O'Brien. There's no way they're going to pay him more than those guys. All guys who've recently signed contracts. Conor Murray. Do they want a stream of guys standing outside Phillips Brown's door going, yeah, that contract we signed last year, yeah, I'm only going to try 2/3 as much if I'm only getting 2/3 of the money.
I doubt they do that, but it sets a number of dodgy precedents. Are they letting somebody else pay their bills? Because obviously the IRFU aren't going to give them $700,000.
Well, the IRFU told us we could do that. If you recall, there at the beginning of the year, they said
they allow Leinster. So
well, that just opens.
Maybe they're just legitimising what's going on in Ulster. Who knows?
That just opens up. Like, where does that stop? Can you just throw in any amount of money?
The IRFU will have to keep it. If they do go down that route, it's vitally important for the game in Ireland that they keep a very close watch on it, because
absolutely,
Dublin's a European capital city, right? It's on the east coast. It's close to the continent. It's got big business here. It could very easily skew the game in Ireland. Belfast is a big city. It's a big city. It gets a lot of structural funds from Westminster. Things are a bit tougher on the west coast.
It's also they pay them in sterling, which is
an
awful lot stronger.
Moment, yeah. Things are a lot tougher on the west coast. Do you really want to put two kind of centres of attraction on the east coast, draw on everything from the west coast? You know, players, prospects, academy prospects. I mean, as Leinster fans, it'd be great, and we can joke about it. But for the game in Ireland, it wouldn't be a good thing. So the IRFU would have to keep a very, very close eye on what's going where and who's doing what to whom.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think actually there's a natural hold on it, because like they have a salary cap in England. Allegedly, they have one in France, even less allegedly. Over here, we've got an NIQ quota, which has been brought down. So if they say, it'd be a bit like the marquee players thing in England. If they say, yeah, you can sign anyone you like, you can get any amount of money from whoever you like to do it, but you can only have 2 of them. That's it. So it kind of polarizes the money, but it doesn't really have a knock-on effect into the game as much, because it's 2 guys. That's it. So you can have Dan Carter and Richie McCaw, but that's it, mate. You can't have any. The rest of your team has to be.
The other side of it is when this story when stories like this break is, if it's an Irish player been talked about going, everybody says, it's just his agent planting stories. Now, whether you believe that or not, it's up to you. Nobody ever says that when it's a story in a New Zealand paper about us trying to sign one of their players, even though it's most likely the same thing.
They wouldn't be using an Irish team, Dave.
Oh, they would.
But they mightn't be, because for just planting a story, it's like, it's a big English club. It's a big. Like, Ulster isn't particularly a big Irish club even.
But for a guy like Piatau, nobody believes that Toulon are going to sign him. But they believe that Ulster would sign him. They believe that the team that signed Dougie Howlett might sign him, or the team that signed Brad Thorne might sign him.
Well, the other thing about it is that by the time this thing goes out, it could have been shown to be a load of bunkum, or it could have been shown to be.
So we'd just like to say, we told you it was all a load of rubbish, and we'd also say, welcome Charles to Ireland.
Well, anyway.
Delete as applicable.
Thanks a million, boys, and thanks very much for watching.